This tutorial will cover in-text citations and APA format. When you cite, you want to cite individuals' ideas, theories, and research that has influenced your work. Let's say I found this from an article I found online. If I wanted to create an in-text citation, I could either keep the language that I found online, so I wouldn't change that at all, and I would use double quotation marks and incorporate the author's last name, the year, and the page number for where I found this information. So this would be a direct quote example. Or I could take that very same idea or the meaning behind it, but I could use my own words to describe it. And that would be an example of paraphrased information or summarized information. And for that, I would only need the author's last name and the year. So the main difference here is the double quotation marks as well as incorporating the page number for a direct quote. At bare minimum, when you use an in-text citation, you need an author's last name and the year of publication. You can incorporate this into your paper in a parenthetical citation, which just means the author's information is coming within parentheses. So it will generally look like this at the end of a sentence right before that period. Or a narrative citation, where you actually refer to the author in your text. So the author is doing something. Here, Smith explains. So the author's last name is not in parentheses. It is active in your text. What is in parentheses is the year. With quotations, you'll see you can do something very similar. With a parenthetical citation, I have the author's information in parentheses at the end, right before that period, but I do add the page number after the year. With a narrative citation, I'm adding the page number still at the end, and you'll see that the author's name and the year still will start my sentence. Now, author's name and the year will always be side by side, no matter where you place them, at the beginning of a sentence or at the end. The only thing that you are able to separate would be the page number itself. Some basic rules with in-text citations. If you have one author, you just need the last name and you need the year. So it'll look just like I showed you prior. Author's last name and year in parentheses, or if it's narrative, the author's last name comes outside of the parentheses. Now, if you have two authors, you do need to join them, and you're going to do that in two different ways. If you choose to put their names in parentheses at the end of a sentence, you join with an ampersand. However, if you refer to them in your text, so a narrative citation, you're using the word and. An example, here the information is in parentheses. I have my ampersand symbol. Here, I'm talking about my authors in text, so they are active in my sentence. Jackson and, using the word and, Thornton found. If you have 3 or more authors, you're going to take the first author in that list, write the last name, and then just et al., which essentially means and others. Here's an example of a parenthetical citation, Hong et al., and narrative, Hong et al. Now, the question then becomes, what if I'm using a work by the same author, more than one within a paper? So an example could be this. These are 2 references that I want to use in an assignment. But you'll notice that Akins and Dannon are both included, and they are both starting out that reference. The year is also the same. So technically, the in-text citation for both of them would be Akins et al. However, to avoid ambiguity with this, you would need to list the authors that are the same. So Akins and Dannon are the same. That wouldn't help to distinguish my reference. So I would need to add Hill. Hill is the first one that's going to help me to distinguish that this is a different reference. So Akins, Dannon, Hill, et al. Same here. Akins, Dannon, Cowie is what helps me to differentiate, et al., and then the year. If you have a group author, write the name of the group followed by the year. So, in parentheses, it would look like so, capitalize each of the main words. Narrative, same thing, capitalize each of the main words. However, the name of the group is not in parentheses in that situation. If you have multiple works, so say you have one fact and that you found that fact in a couple of different resources. What you're going to do is to place them in alphabetical order and use semicolons to separate the different citations. So here A comes before S, which comes before W. I separate with semicolons, but all of the information is still within parentheses and right before the period. If you do not have an author, you are going to use the title of the work instead. Rule of thumb with this: if the title is italicized in the reference list, keep it italicized in your in-text citations. If it's not, use double quotation marks. Examples: if I have a book without an author, I would italicize it because in my reference list, book titles are italicized. So it could look something like this: language learning, and then I add my year. If I have an article without an author, article titles are not italicized in the reference list, so I would use double quotation marks. Awareness of effective techniques. Now, something to note with this: in our references list, we generally use sentence case for titles, which means the first word is capitalized, but everything else is lowercase. It's different with in-text citations. With your in-text citations, you're using title case, so each major word of that title will be capitalized. Additionally, if the title is long, you can shorten it. An example of this one here could be, maybe the full title was Awareness of Effective Techniques in Language Learning in South Korean Classrooms, or something of that nature. I would only need to add a few of the first words to be able to differentiate or to have my reader know which reference I was referring to, but I don't necessarily need to write out the whole title. So with quotations in your paper, you can incorporate short quotations, which is fewer than 40 words, or a long quotation, which is 40 words or more. I will show you, I'll add a link here for long quotations, also known as block quotations, and how to incorporate those into your paper. But here we're going to focus on short quotations.